जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणतपाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी जय असुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रियकंता पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करऊ अनुग्रह सोई करऊ अनुग्रह सोई। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा। सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ अघारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मन रंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी सरन सकल सुर जूथा सरन सकल सुर जूथा सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जाकहु कोई नहीं जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु सो श्री भगवाना भव बारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
It's coming to say that it may sound like a strange request, but please come to God's presence. Come to God's presence. Let go of self-concern. Let go of the tiny narrative of the mind. Focus on building the only wealth that matters, which is our spiritual wealth. And what is spirit? Spirit is the presence of God. And what is spiritual wealth? It is our closeness, it is our love for God. Which is all that matters, all that is going to matter. The pathway to God are so many. But our intention has to be Him and serving Him and loving Him alone. Do we know every moment what wealth we are trying to create? Is it a wealth of worldly relationship? Is it a wealth of material wealth, monetary wealth? Is it physical wealth, well-being? Or is it enriching ourselves in God's love and light? We know moment to moment. At least when we check, we know, isn't it? In our heart, we know. When we check, meaning check within ourselves. So if the point of life is to really construct this heart temple and to allow God's light to shine through us to its maximum capacity, are we going to be happy with allowing that not to shine at all? And every day we get introduced to a new pathway to deepen in our love for God. So the methods are millions, maybe billions, as many of us seem to be here, maybe that many seeming methods to that which is truly from at no distance from us. But if our intention is self-serving, then the method is irrelevant. Is it? What is our intention right now? Is it to be right or wrong about something? Is it to understand something? Is it to grow for ourselves, myself? What is it that we really want out of this moment? And most of our lives, most of us, including this one, spends in a state of hypnosis where we don't even ask, what is this for? And soon it is time over. And the idea, I had a beautiful interaction last satsang with one child who was feeling very despondent actually. Is it? Very despondent because the words I may be using may sound like I'm saying that if you're not troubling yourself, then you're doing something wrong. You must be in this constant stress of finding God. And if you're happy, then you're doing something wrong. It's not at all what my intention is. You see? My intention is for us to come to true happiness. But if you're happy in the make-believe idea about yourself and what the world is, and you're in this lull sort of haze, and your idea of happiness is to make the idea of separation, the hellish idea of separation from God seem palatable, that is what I'm relentlessly ranting about. It is not your moments of peace. I want you to have more and more of that. So the idea is not to become a great sage at one shot. Tomorrow you'll be Tulsidas ji, or tomorrow you'll be Shabri. Tomorrow you'll be Abraham or David. It's not about that. But it is in the intention, moment to moment, to love God more deeply, to live in His light. And to not live in separation from His presence, and therefore our life becoming a reflection of His love towards all our brothers and sisters as well. You see? Yeah. And so actually what I'm saying can only happen in peace. It cannot happen if you're feverish about anything. Be with God, behold God, and be held by God as much as you can throughout your life. So can we decide today, and I've been attempting to do this, and it is stealthily difficult, this project. I have found it quite difficult actually, that we don't talk about any story about ourselves without mentioning God's grace which is upon us. So, I was reading from Saint Therese that the shifting of focus away from our personal narrative to God's grace can be a simple way to deepen our love and relationship with God. Can we try this? In talking, writing, messaging, in the stories that we tell ourselves, most importantly, everything. We mention, we put God at the center of it. And I realize that it becomes difficult when the mind has sold you the idea that you don't have time. Like today you don't have time. Today you're in the office all day, you have to finish all of this work, then you have satsang, then you have a family engagement. So today is time for the rawness of life, none of this good stuff. Mind convinces me like that. You see? So I noticed this trick. But that is the very pretext in which we forget that we are living in God's presence, that every breath of our life is a gift from Him. Is it? Huh? Where will we find it difficult? At work? In the office? You say, let's get this book done by tomorrow if it's God's will. Huh? You may find it strange. You see how it unfolds. See how it unfolds. But in most other situations, it should be fine. Family thinks you're mad anyway, or at least I'm mad anyway. Family is not a problem. Friends also know us by now. Yeah, so if you say that I'm feeling very frustrated today that you said this, that even in talking now I have to mention God's grace. No? So you would say, I notice that I'm very frustrated at the moment, but he's here, and may by his blessing, by his presence, may this also be resolved. Is it? Because if we are going to keep our spirituality reserved for the big things, like we just met Otto Raja, and Otto Raja has spent 27 years of his life picking up mentally challenged, abandoned people from the streets whose families have basically thrown them away, discarded them. Young mothers who got pregnant and now both sides of the families don't want them. He went with one girl to Delhi and they said, no, you keep her, we don't want her because she has done this. So she's been living, serving at the center for the last 11 years. Many educated people who've just been abandoned by society and had no other place to go. He has nurtured wounds with maggots and gangrene and leprosy. In helping TB patients in the center, his daughter has got TB now and she is walking around with a mask. So we may notice that in what way God uses every instrument, it doesn't have to be like that. I doubt my life will ever come to that point, that level of service. I'm much too comfortable in my armchair spirituality. But I feel God has given everybody an opportunity, moment to moment in their lives. So I used to share earlier in satsang that don't worry so much about the big miracles. Can you bring a smile to the one who's in front of you on the street? If they've had a bad day, you just smile at them, say hello, and just change. You don't know where, in what hell they were finding themselves in their mind. For a moment to see a smiling face in front of them, something may change, or it may not. It's God's grace, but at least that can be our service. If we are angry and we want to lash out at someone, can we not remember Anandamayi Ma saying, don't get angry? So, and of course, everything I'm saying today is very colored, very inspired by Saint Therese, because her little way is so inspiring. It doesn't have to be the one big thing. It can be a million tiny things. And you don't feel like loving someone and you're feeling actually an aversion. And I'm coming back again to I've had two major influences this week. One was Saint Therese and the other was Otto Raja. So in watching the video of what he has been doing in the last 27 years, half of us were not able to watch. I am not sending it to my family because they will say, my extended family, because they'll be like, this is, too difficult. Why have you sent this? But he has been doing that. And watching what he has been doing is so difficult for us. Picking up naked, dirty bodies, cremating 9,000 people over the last 27 years, because it's a hospice as well. And so much honesty, he's saying that sometimes when I drive my car, I just feel like shouting out loud and banging my head. Hmm? So no false image making. So he said something. He said that if you spend a lot of time with doctors, you'll start talking like doctors. If you spend a lot of time with lawyers, you start talking like lawyers. So I spent 27 years of my life with these mentally challenged patients. So I feel like now I'm losing it. So a few days or just the day before we had gone, he hurt himself. You see? He took a sharp object and hurt himself. Because this kind of life takes a toll on you. He said, if you are working for God, then you don't need to be educated, you don't need to know anything. He delivers babies, he is not a doctor. He heals, he treats everyone, he is not a doctor. So just being placed in these positions, God gives us the strength and the knowledge we need moment to moment. And my point is that suppose that we are not at that place in our life, we are not able to, we are too weak. So to admit that, and yet to do the tiniest thing we can. The mind is pushing us around, making us angry, but we remain in God's presence. For 10 seconds more than we would have. So Saint Teresa had a beautiful example as well. She said that a sister and I, we were washing dishes. And the sister, she just kept splashing the soap water on her face. And something in her wanted to just react to that. But she just felt it's a beautiful opportunity to be humble, to be loving, to realize that the sister is not intending to hurt her. It is just God has given her an opportunity to transcend her anger, her pride. So this spiritual wealth will come through our sadhana, through the way we live our life, but ultimately just the being or attempting to be in the presence of God no matter what plays out for the bodily instrument. Is there any better use of this moment right now than to be with God? Any better use? So why is it that it's only like this in some times, in the times of satsang? So I feel many of us get stuck in a godless spirituality, which should be a contradiction in terms, but many times it isn't in the world today. how to say? It sounds very, as Anand Mahima would say, very utpatang. मैं तो बहुत ऊटपटांग बातें करती हूँ. She would always say, before saying such pearls of wisdom, she would always say, मैं तो छोटी बच्ची हूँ, मैं तो बहुत ऊटपटांग बातें करती हूँ. Meaning that I am just a little child, I don't know what I am talking about, I am just saying some upside down things. So then after some time, if you see the videos, her disciples say, please you tell us your utpatang, we want to hear your utpatang. Because from the world's perspective, what these great sages have to say is always going to seem a bit absurd. The world says, what are you doing wasting your life? When I was 30 years old, I was at work one day, and this senior gentleman, very experienced, was saying to a group of us that, and probably my father must have told him something about where I'm going, so in my trajectory of my life. So he said that if the spiritual bug bites anyone, their life is a complete waste. He had no doubt about it. He said it fully authoritatively. That if the spiritual bug bites anyone, your life is completely wasted. उसकी जिंदगी बर्बाद है. Now, what is upside down? I feel like it's the opposite. If the spiritual bug hadn't bit me, then I feel like my life would have been a complete waste. And both of us, I'm sure, are happy to be this way even if we are wrong. Easy. So, from the perspective of Maya, God will always be upside down. From the perspective of the Spirit, God's presence, Maya will always be upside down. Are you willing to risk being upside down and seen to be upside down? It is very possible that that 30-year-old boy who heard this statement 19 years ago may have taken it to heart and said, let me make something of my life instead. What am I doing? So Maya will always send its agents to say, what are you up to? What do you have to show for what you're up to? Some of you have been satsang 12 years. Where is she? So, 12 years. What do you have to show for it? Nothing. What can we show? That is why it needs faith. It's a question of faith. It's very possible to be fully rara about the stupidest causes. It's very possible. Is it? And many in the world, millions in the world are feeling very rara and correct about the silliest things. Is satsang one of those things? In the eyes of many in the world, it is. Are you willing to risk this life, moment to moment, not doing the big things necessarily, like Mother Teresa or Otto Raja? But whatever little we can, every moment. Are you willing to sacrifice your moment away from yourself towards God. In inquiry towards the truths, which also is a complete waste in the eyes of the world. क्या तुम बैठ के who am I करते, क्या मिलेगा इससे तुम्हें? What are you doing sitting around and asking who am I? What will you get out of this? I have never found a good answer to this question. You have one?
You're taking notes out of it.
You're taking notes also. Oh, really? Wasting life and noting the story of how I wasted my life. So any spiritual endeavor is a complete waste in the eyes of the world. So when I was younger, what happened is that because I was so doubtful about my path, then if anybody would say something, I would get very upset. It was not because of what they were saying, because it was a scenario which I was fearful that maybe they're right. That is when things bother us, no? If we are completely clear that, let's take an example, that the earth is spherical, if there is an earth and we are on earth, then the earth is spherical and it's moving, and a flat earther comes and talks to you from America, somebody has traveled to India and they're a flat earther and they come and talk to you. Unless you are doubtful, you are not going to be upset and lose your sleep over it. So when I was younger, I would get upset with these things if my family told me something, because I was very unsure of my own path. You see, I was unsure about God's presence. I was unsure even that there is something called self-realization, freedom, because I had no experience there. So when we get poked, when we get irritated, then know that somewhere that voice which is speaking has some allegiance with us as well. That's why it bothers us. Somewhere we are scared that maybe we are actually wasting our life. That could be one. But the other way to look at it also is that if you're talking to your friends and they get irritated every time you speak about this, it means that they are also in the same boat, unsure about their philosophy for their life. That's why they don't want to hear it. You see? When we were in sales training, in a different lifetime, we were told that if a customer has told you that they're never going to buy, don't waste your time, those are the ones who are most ready to buy. I don't know if they taught you that. That they're just scared you're going to sell it to them, so they just want to block you. Oh. Many times in the world it is also like that. So, coming back to what we have to endeavor to do with our lives, moment to moment make it for God. Remain inward facing, remain bathed in His presence, in His love. So, notice the small things that take you away from God. You can say, for example, I get irritated when. You can write that in your list. I get irritated when, whatever that is. Why am I saying irritated and not upset or angry? Because all this starts with that irritation. If you spot it at the level of irritation, it usually doesn't become big anger, big frustration. Can I get irritated if I did not want my will? So is my upsetness, is my irritation a question of will? If I don't get what I want from life, from a person, from a relationship, from how the world is supposed to be according to my way, then I give that, in that thought of being right, do I realize the exchange that I'm making? Who dwells in peace? Who dwells in peace and who dwells in anger? Who's winning at that time? So I promise not to leave God's presence even in these cases where it seems so justified. So that's one time when I leave God's presence. What is our second favorite time to leave God's presence? Okay, let's look at it this way. When is it worth it to leave God's presence and just spend the time talking about some brother or sister? Let's spend the next 2 hours of our life talking about someone who's not here. Let's talk about Jyotika. She's not here. So let's, that day, what did she say? Of course, she's very sweet, we love her, but so spending time on both fruitless thinking and fruitless conversations. Isn't that such a low-hanging fruit, so to speak? Yes, if we can cut that out of our life, we have so much more time for God. Yeah? Isn't it? Is it? So, irritation, gossip, small thing.
So she said that washing every another day go there, people would leave their things around and
Yeah.
instead of being angry, she would pick them out.
Yes.
And she would not
Just quietly
yeah.
clean up for them.
Someone is doing that really used to, get me a why have to go again? Nobody ever did that story. And then she said, you just do it for God. You just think you're doing this seva, and it just changes your whole attitude.
Very good. talking about others and what else?
Entertainment.
Entertainment will come to. That's a very good point. So one thing that I've noticed about myself as I'm getting older more and more is just loving to talk about myself. Like right now. So if we can't talk about how bad others are, now let's talk about how good I am. So there's a very beautiful term, maybe I specialize in that term, which is called humble bragging. Humble bragging. You know this humble bragging? Okay, when I do it next time, I'll point it out. It's like in the disguise of humility, it's a brag. No? I have some special expertise on that one. So it can be like this. And equally corrosive is false humility. And Therese was also talking about this, false humility. Like God has blessed us so much in our life, but we will not talk about it because humility. In the sense that, oh, so yesterday what happened is that a few weeks I've been wondering that the charitable aspect of spirituality, the charity aspect of spirituality is actually completely missing from my life. I was feeling this in my heart. And just in time where this feeling was getting so strong, that God sent us to meet these people, Auto Raja, Home of Hope, New Ark Mission. So many times we don't talk about these things because it may seem like it is a humble brag or a self-praise or something indirectly. But as long as you're clear in your heart that actually you're praising God, you should not hide His light in this way. So it may seem like a bit of a fine line, but in our heart we always know what did we want from the other. Did you want them to think, oh, I'm so cool? Or did you really want them to think God is so cool? We know in our heart, we know not. So don't shy away from praising the gifts from God that we received in our life. Huh? Entertainment is there. Before this, one more thing is that I've started noticing that my friends who come and visit me from, like, old friends from college and early part of work and former neighbors, now when they come and meet me, cousins, will they come and meet me, I feel like they'll stop coming soon, but while they come, I make it a point to mention the fact that, we're getting old, all of us, and there must be something more to life than what most of the world is involved in. And so far, I've got rather patient hearings, I have to say. Like from friends who've known me from my atheist days, that maybe it's the beard that is working, but it's just much more openness than I was expecting to find. At least on the face of it, I don't know what happened later, but I'm just feeling like, and some of these friends, like last one came from, moved to the US, then lived in Hyderabad. So I met him after maybe 2 decades or something. And you don't know that if it's going to be another 2 decades, whether we'll still be around to meet each other or not. But so it also came that maybe something somewhere will stay with someone. And what happens is that if we forget about God in those times, it's very easy for us to get caught up in all of that stuff as well. Yeah? And with computer engineers of my vintage, what is the usual point of most conversation? What is your net worth and what is my net worth now? Everybody just quietly gauging, Acha, what did you, oh, I had one exit with this and I had one. So you just like calculating. Yeah? What have you done in your life is measured by net worth. All of these things. A complete waste of time. So, if I can introduce them to the only thing valuable that I found in my life, which is my only net worth, then it is worthwhile. But the label is very scary, no? That in the world, that not only are you doing your spirituality privately now you become an evangelist also. Like an evangelist is a bad word. No? But if I was giving everybody tips on how I made this much money, then that is very welcome. But true wealth, that is not welcome. That's what I was saying, upside down. So I start talking to some people about God, they say, yo, that CIO association you were doing, is it still there? Oh, what's happening with Pink Lemonade now? Maybe it's just uncomfortable and unusual to meet someone who authentically wants to talk about God. But the point I'm making is that self-imposed 90% of the time? Are we scared? This fear about talking about God with those who are civilians. Because we don't want to look like we've lost it. Huh? Our life has gone waste. Some of us came with me when we went to the village, Chathaval, a very small village in western UP. And some of my cousin sisters, older ones, and I was not expecting that from them. They were very sweet and very loving, of course. But all of them wanted to ask me one thing, and all of them stay at home, are homemakers, all those things. But they wanted to ask me, are you still doing some work or are you only like into this religion thing?
Very sweet and open.
Very sweet, but they had this question in mind. And in an indirect way, that's still a question about net worth. So, If only somebody will ask me really my true worth, what I found valuable in life. Huh?
If someone asks that question, it's very scared.
Very scared.
Because of the same image that
Yes.
I have.
Yeah. Yes. There's so many friends, common friends I have with some of you. They meet me in the social gatherings when I go with Garima. So they come and say, this one speaks so highly of you, this one speaks so highly of you. I want to meet you one day and talk to you about this. So I say, thrice a week we have satsang, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They say, no, I want to just, meet one-on-one. I say, why? We talk about what you want to talk about. You see? So there's this like fear of being seen to be spiritual or joining a cult or something strange like that. There's so many things in Maya which keep us away from God. Anyway, so these self-limiting beliefs which they prevented this one from speaking about God openly with so many people. Because I also had this construct that, okay, this is about work, and this is about social gathering, and this is satsang. You see, so these constructs can seem very true and alive, but it's a question of just some discomfort. What is the worst that's going to happen? Somebody going to say, okay, I don't want to hear this stuff, I'm going. It's all right. If you had the magic injection and everybody else was suffering from a life-threatening disease, would you shy away from offering it to them? So, do we feel like what you are finding is as valuable as a life-saving injection? Only in satsang time. So, because when we are, coming back to the original intent, when we think we're in a place which is not appropriate for God, then we also start operating in that way. All this I'm saying from my experience. So, we can be a bit careful about that. There is no occasion which is unsuitable for God. And God will guide you on whether something has to be said or not. But we must not leave God under some constructed narrative of something. Okay?
Like say there's some community gathering, it's unfit. In my mind, it's unfit to talk about God, and I try to gel in because I feel, otherwise if I'm not, so I leave God sometimes just to fit in. It's like everybody's just in their own. Like,
What is the usual topic?
so women, fathers, or clothes. And
Hey, I'm not generalizing.
it's usually like that here, at least. Clothes and just ha ha he, like just laughter. And
I understand fully what you're saying.
it's hard because I don't want to go because I feel like I have nothing to contribute. That's also an idea in my mind. I've seen that. So just to sometimes keep quiet and not even respond, it feels very uncomfortable. So,
Well, some of it will happen, I guess. Some of it will happen, I guess. Where I don't know if some of you watched that episode of Chosen where Jesus goes to Jerusalem. Where does he go? Nazareth? His own village. Na? So then he's playing those games he used to play as a child, and he's trying to fit in and being completely like normal with them. So then they ask him to do a sermon. And in the sermon he says, I am the law of Moses. No? And a rabbi questions him, I am the law of Moses. And all his childhood friends and rabbi and everything want to kill him for blasphemy. And they take him to the edge of a cliff. Like, now you blasphemed enough, now you have to die for it. And he just looks at them, says, not today, and he just walks off. But he made some attempt initially, at least, to fit in. But I hope you're getting a sense of what I'm saying. Sometimes in the most innocent seeming ways, we leave God's light, we leave God's presence. Then, like Parth was saying, entertainment.
You were saying that sometimes we leave God due to some very innocent reason.
Yeah.
So just wanted to ask
Yes,
what
yes.
could
So suppose that your company organized a gathering, a high tea or something like that, and there the people were just talking about something. What do people talk about? Some politics, not maybe not so much. Now the elections are over, maybe not so much, but so whatever the topic may be, and you feel that to fit in now I have to also pretend to have a view about this, like I'm taking I don't like this, I like this better, or this shade of wallpaper is better looking than that shade of wallpaper, is to take the most silly example. And soon you find yourself actually getting involved in that position, whereas initially you may have felt that, oh, I'm just making conversation to just not make everyone feel uncomfortable, and soon you find yourself taking strong views. And we used to talk about this so often, where I used to say that positions are usually not that strong when they're inside us, but when they come out of our mouth, then it feels like we have to defend it like the gospel truth. No, it has to be like, no, it is that way, why can't you see it like that? And then we really examine, you say, actually 15 minutes ago, I didn't really have a position on this. So that's how this works, that once I've said something, it's like a matter of pride, that has to be true, we have to make it seen as true for everyone. So all of these are very subtle things. So social gatherings, I'm not saying that we must only talk about God. I'm just saying that remain in His presence and allow yourself to unfold from there, and keep your eye on your inner compass as much as you can. And if you feel yourself getting distant, disconnected from your heart, then return at that point, retreat at that point, because at some points of disconnection you find it very difficult to come back. It may take many hours of sadhana to just come back. So and that's why this question is meant to be very provocative. Actually, I'm not able to bring the might into it, which is that if God is not living, then why are we living? That is the reaction I wanted from everyone. So it's really the question to ask. No? So God is not saying, oh yes, now it is time for your social gathering, so I'm going to see you later. See, He is very much with you. It is we who go. Is it? So it's a question of trust, it's a question of faith, and we are all learning and deepening in this together. I'm not sharing any of this from the perspective of sitting on top of the mountain, just as a fellow traveler. So just noticing all of these things. In the waking state, in the presence of the Leela, one level of entertainment is always there, the Leela itself. You see? Now, within the entertainment, we have created many more layers of entertainment, and it's going to get more and more immersive as we go along. So, it's all alright. It's just, as long as you're with God. What is that statement somebody posted on the group? Be with God and the rest is fine, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But nothing becomes an excuse for you to leave Him. Is it? So, we don't have to go to the mountains, we don't have to go live in caves, we don't have to become sadhus. I mean, if those things are happening, then those are happening, it's okay. But day-to-day life, moment-to-moment life, gives us enough opportunities to deepen in our love for God, deepen in our spirituality. That is the main message which I am learning from Therese, and also I wanted to share with all of you. That the construct, the overall construct of our life doesn't have to change. We don't have to leave our families, we don't have to leave renouns necessarily, unless God is guiding us to. Because many times the mind just uses those as excuses to not be with God enough. This happened, and then this happened, and then that happened. The whole day went. How many whole days will go like this? This happened, and then this happened. This happened. Whole day went. Like this whole life will go. So let everything that is happening happen. You stay with God. And from that staying in His presence, then kindness will come. Have you ever found yourself gossiping in God's presence? Yeah? You're sitting in God's light and you just... You found? This doesn't happen. Be careful of well-intentioned sounding gossip. I feel like that was another expertise of mine. Yeah? Just like we are talking about this sister because we love her, we want to help her. So let's just discuss what she's been doing every time, and so this is inauthentic. It's inauthentic. We just get something is poking us, and we just want that approval and acceptance from everyone else that she is pokey that way, or he is pokey that way. So we try to get others involved in our narrative, and we feel better when we get acceptance from others also that this is how they are. But it's all done in a seemingly well-intentioned fashion that we are doing it because we love that one. You see? Yeah. So many times it can happen that in Sangha we gather and we just like, oh, Father is too innocent, he's just too innocent, so he doesn't see how this one is. So he doesn't see how that one is. What does he say behind his back? What does she say behind his back? Father knows too. So basically saying he's really stupid. Which could be absolutely true, I'm not denying that, but I'm happy to live in that innocence feeling like everybody is nice and sweet and loving and all of those things. So I don't want those delusions to be broken if they are delusions. But many times I'm giving an example of well-intentioned seeming gossip. But why? If 4 of you have gathered, 3 of you have gathered, when one or more gather, then God can really amplify His presence. In every culture, every tradition, they've talked about that. Then when we gather in God's name, the feeling of His presence can be so much more alive. Why waste that opportunity in all this fruitless talk? You see? And this can also be in the guise of entertainment. Oh, we're just having some fun. You see, but would you do it if that person was there? It should be fun along with them also. So don't fall into these traps of Maya, which again, very innocent seeming first, and then before you know it, you're in this Maya trap. Anytime two Sangha members meet, such a great opportunity. I felt this, I had this insight, I feel God is pointing me in this direction, or in my prayer I get stuck this way. It doesn't have to be nice reports, but it can be any which way. But such a beautiful opportunity to deepen in God's love and light. Don't waste though.
Father, I wanted to share something. Um, Besides, of course, I struggle with all of everything that we are talking about, but my another very big struggle when I see myself, just going away is emotional storms.
Yeah.
And particularly something which is very like intense and like anxiety in particular. And then the mind sort of comes in that, what are you doing with your life? You're in the back seat, you gotta get into the driver's seat. Um,
And okay, so let's complete that story. Before you complete the rest of your report, you got in the driver's seat. Then, where are you driving to?
Away, farther
Okay,
and
so where
farther,
did that go?
just deeper and deeper into the world, which is anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like
No,
it's
I'm just saying that I know
yeah,
you know that, but
yeah.
when the mind is pushing that narrative to you, what is the great promise? Suppose you get on the driving seat and then you will do what?
The promises
Yeah.
stability or the promises or everything will be good, which it has not been because I have had enough experience to see that uh, something gets done, something is achieved, and then it's back to the feeling doesn't go. The feelings going is never an outside job.
Yeah.
It's more like an inside job that needs to be done. And yet it comes with so much force, like it devours
Exactly.
the attention. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is the struggle. That is the very struggle of our spiritual life. That the only antidote to the human condition is God's presence moment to moment. Everything else that is shared in satsang is just so that we can become like that. But there is no other antidote other than God's presence, the Atma's light. So, by grace, we come to a point where we run out of moves and we just have to stay with God. By wisdom, very few can do that, but few can, which is to notice maybe from the mistakes of others that there is nothing to be gotten. I can be in the driver's seat, I can be in the passenger seat, I can take charge, I can carpe diem, all I want. But at the end, death is waiting, and death is not going to count your money, death is not going to count your relationships, death is not going to see your healthy body, death is just going to take away this life. And at that moment, if you don't have a bank account, which is the true bank account, of course, everything, even then, is God's grace, and in God's grace, everything is possible. But my feeling is that if our spiritual bank account is empty, then it is the continuation of this separation, continuation of this Maya. So just because the world doesn't consider the spiritual bank account to be a true bank account, doesn't mean that we don't take it to be a true bank account. So every time you remembered God, you're making a deposit. Can we just look at it very simply like that? Because otherwise the construct can be too stark, especially when we are stuck in Maya. It can seem like, okay, now if I did this, then I would have this opportunity. If I did that, why don't we look at every moment that I spend just remembering God as if I'm making a deposit in my spiritual bank account? Let's drive that car. Let's say so many thousands of moments in today's day, how much did I add to my only true bank account, which great sages have told me, not just the stupid man who's sitting here, but great sages have told us that that is the only account that matters. Is it? And there's a very, 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 very slim chance that all of them, beautiful, honest people, could have been lying to us. Is it? So, if that is the truth, let me add to that spiritual wealth. Let me deepen in my love for God. And whether I believe in the construct that will give me a chance to be completely merged into God or to live forever in His holy presence, both are unimaginably good. Both of those promises, which are the spiritual promises, are unimaginably good. And anything that the world has to have offer cannot come close. And just, I know it's easier to say, but just take it from me, because really I've seen, like with my father, I've seen so many relatives who really have lived this philosophy of taking the bull by the horns and full achievement mode and success and all of that. Was a man who was so accomplished, so well respected, was he prepared for his death? He was not prepared for his death. That is the illusion of Maya. It's not his fault. It is how Maya traps all of us. It always tells us we have plenty of time. So even at 78, he felt he has plenty of time. It's just not true. So if all of us are starting to get a sense of what this life is really about, then one message is very important, which is not to waste time. You see? And when we turn towards God, we face difficulties in turning towards Him. But by the time we have turned inward, His gifts, His consolation, His peace, His joy, it's all for us. His love, it's all for us. All these things that we want from other people in the world can only come from one place, really. So, drive the car, but drive it inwards. Don't allow it to take you outward. Yeah? Blame me at the end of your life. Yeah? Just say, if some auditor of this life comes and says, why did you waste it by looking for God? You didn't even know whether God is real or you're just imagining it, and yet you wasted it all on God. Just say that there was this man who said he's my father, and he has told me that he is willing to bear the brunt of all your mistakes on the spiritual path. Can you have that kind of trust? So you wasted this life, just say, this man made me waste it. He made me waste my whole life. I'm willing to bear the consequences of that.
For me, Father, when just this question, when you say that, and I know you've asked me this question 2, 3 times whenever I've shared that, does Devi step away or do you step away?
Yeah.
And I would always have resistance that no, it's not me, it's she who goes away. But I've been staying with this question for a long time now. And it really feels like it is me who steps away, because I think until now I have been chasing feelings and experience all the time. And I don't know, it suddenly feels like it has percolated from intellect, this just this observation that it's not possible to be in the same feeling state, because feelings are never the same. They are like waves ebbing in and ebbing out. And that metaphor of, can we construct the temple for God to arrive? And I feel, again, I'm able to really engage with that metaphor now, and not just literally chasing experience, almost like proof, like I was looking for a consistent proof. And when I say, she's very kind, because she keeps she keeps reminding me of her presence, but that can't be a 24/7 state. And I feel I'm like still like deepening this understanding in me. And the more you ask this question, does she go away or do you go away? I think that question um is very helpful. It really, yeah, it opens up something each time I hear that question. So thank you for these nudges and questions.
Very welcome. Very, very good. To just even meet this question is very helpful, because first we have to engage ourselves in this way, that we have to come to God's presence, Devi Ma's presence. We come there, and then we have to be patient. We have to ignore all of Maya's temptations to answer this question whether she goes or I go. You see? Maya doesn't like it. She'll send temptations your way, she'll send frustration, and most urgent work, you see, all kinds of distractions, everything will come. But to remain in the contemplation of this question is very auspicious if you can do it. Does he ever go away? Or is it always an exchange that I am making? It's a very, very good contemplation. Very. And we learn to live in His will so deeply, just in a contemplation like this as well. So Arjun, for example, from the Mahabharata is a very good metaphor for all of us. Besides being a historical character, he's also a very good representative of the human condition. So one more thing that he did was, after Abhimanyu was killed, of course, emotions would be running high at that point. He said that I will kill who? Jayadratha? Karna. So he said, I'll kill Karna before sunset today. Who is it? It's okay, some super villain, some Marvel super villain. He said he's going to kill Ashwadhama, Karna, Jayadratha, all the options are there. You pick whoever. So he said he will do that before the end of the day today, otherwise he will end his own life. You see? And then we told Krishna this, Krishna got very upset. Krishna literally told him, I am sitting right here. Who has asked you to make these resolutions? You could have at least checked with me. That's literally what Krishna tells him from on the chariot, isn't it? I don't know if some of you have seen that scene. Yeah? And then what happens is that because Arjun is a great friend, a Sakha of God, the great Bhakt in the form of a Sakha, then and Arjun, as always, is trapped in some war game, and it's not happening. It's not happening. The sun is going down. So then Krishna had to hold up the sun, or he had to. So what he did is he sent some clouds to cover the sun. So then the bad guys felt like the sunset has come and they won the challenge. Now Arjuna has to kill himself because a promise is a promise in those days. So this one who was scared of being killed by Arjun comes out in the open and starts laughing, thinking that the sun is set. Just when he comes out, then Krishna removes the clouds and Arjun gets his chance and he's willing to keep up his pledge. You see, but the first part of the story is more compelling. Who is it? So the first part of the story is more compelling for me because that's literally us. Even in our spirituality, we become like that. And I should say, I become like that. But he's right there, no? Why can't we ask? Why can't we be patient for the answer? Why do we think we know? What do we actually know? So the crux of all of this is that he never leaves us, although his presence does seem to get distant when we are the more selfish we are being. But his grace, his mercy is so much that just in a turning away with innocence and true tears of missing him, he makes himself available. And he does not leave us. And he does not say, don't ask me this, don't look for guidance about this small matter. How dare you bring this to me? Don't I have other work to do? You see? So the highest in the universe, that which the universe is made up of, is willing to have a deep, deep relationship with us in any construct that we want. And we are chasing relationships on the outside. God is saying, I'll be your mother, I'll be your father, I'll be your best friend, I'll be your lover, I'll be your beloved, I'll be your son, I'll be your child, I'll be your daughter, whatever way you want. And all love will come from me anyway. But in the hypnosis of Maya, we think that grabbing on to some flesh and blood will be better for us in our lives. Just a bucket of food, just food dancing around, creating all this drama in our life. What if the food never changes shape? What if all the food we ate then stayed in that shape only? So all the falafels are like, they appear like mini falafels. All the rotis are like mini rotis. So you just see like an aggregate of all the food that we eat and that made up. Then would it be that attractive? All this body is made up of that only. So it is just in the hypnosis of Maya, we get stuck in all of this stuff, feeling that this grabbing on the outside will give me some everlasting peace and joy and love. Even if that comes, it will come only from God, if it is His grace. That's one more tip. Don't make spiritual excuses for worldly desires. Because the mind is very crafty. It will say, oh, I want to be with that one only because he is very spiritual, he'll help my growth. Lies. All lies. At least be honest. That's the beautiful thing about the saints. You hear Hanuman Podarji talking, you hear any of them talking, they don't put themselves on a pedestal and then make excuses for themselves. Same with Mother Teresa of Avila, all of them, same. They just say about themselves as it is. If you're stuck in something, just say, I'm stuck in something. Don't make a narrative which is all fancy sounding and disingenuous. You're caught in some Maya trap, just say, I'm caught in this Maya trap. Maya has me by my throat, I don't know what to do. Rather than saying, no, I feel actually this is actually, very good because I feel, in my heart I feel, that this could be really very good for my growth and like, am I saying that can never happen? I'm not saying that. But I've seen all too often we just get into this kind of, because we don't like what we are seeing happening within ourselves, we just try to make sense of it using a narrative. We just say, this is what is happening. So this integrity which Maharaj has spoken about so much, but you see the lives of the sages, how much they just honest about themselves and how openly they can speak. So if you're caught up in lust, just admit to yourself you're caught up in lust. If you're caught up in some emotional attachment, then admit to yourself you're caught up in some emotional attachment. Don't make spiritual excuses for worldly things. It's very, very difficult to be that honest, but I promise you it will help. And all of these things I'm saying as a fellow traveler, as a fellow learner. Exactly.
It's good for my growth. I've seen
Yes.
that tendency. Like you just don't want to, you want to give it a label, not be vulnerable.
Exactly. Not be vulnerable, not look as if we have everything sorted.
Yeah.
You see, what will people think about me? They think I'm so far ahead, so evolved. If I say that I'm going through this, what will they think? So we forget the audience of one, and it becomes about the audience of many, which is classic Maya. Isn't it?
It's so beautiful to notice these things, right? Just a small things.
Important, these tiny things, no? These little things which are just blocking our life. We feel like if we can convince 100 people around us that we are free, that we'll actually be free, but actually get distant from God's presence in our heart. It's not about that. Let them all think you're mad. All of us are going to be mud together anyway one day, so let everyone think mud. It's okay. Not in false humility, but you don't have to hide. You don't have to be disingenuous. Don't have to make yourself seem spiritual. So, I hope you're noticing that these small things in everyday life are the little things that Saint Therese was talking about. She may not have taken these examples, but these are the ones that are coming up in satsang today as we share. And the classic one, of course, is don't rush. Come what may, don't rush. In all situations, only rush inwards. Let's put it that way.
Stops myself from saying that I'm so happy to have read that little way. I mean, heard it. I haven't read the book yet, but it has had a deep impact here. I feel, like small things you can do with my children, small acts that I have not noticed. A small act of putting them first.
Exactly.
It's so beautiful, Father. It's so beautiful,
Right.
It doesn't have it.
Doesn't have to be.
Small acts, just smallest of acts of.
Doesn't have to be an historical event.
No,
It doesn't have to be a miracle. What the world considers a miracle. These are small miracles.
it's very beautiful, Father.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, it allows you to love in that moment, that's it. It doesn't have to always feel beautiful. I'm sure there will be moments when you have to fight and, just let the other, like many times it feels beautiful to surrender your will and just do it for them. And sometimes it might be very tough also, but
Yes.
but it's very simple in that way. Simple thing she said is so profound, no? Just like this folding of clothes, and without anybody knowing. She said only Jesus knows, preferably no one else knows.
And a child, child of 15 to 24, can't even imagine what I was up to when I was 24. So, and here's one child who's, and she has so beautifully mentioned how she used to wonder that why is God so kind to some and not to others? Some ones who did so many criminal things almost, and yet God made saints out of them. Why is it? How can it be like that? She has written about how she wondered about these things. That how can God be like this with some and be like that with others? So then she one day was in her garden. That's where the name The Little Flower comes from. So she saw that there is beautiful big flowers, roses. I'm very bad at flowers, but there's these big flowers, and also there's very tiny flowers as well. And when the sun comes up, all are nourished in the light of the sun. All are loved by the sun. Can we say that the sun loves the rose more than the lily? In the same way, some of us are big superstars of spirituality, of God, of all of that. And some of us are little flowers that he looks at us she says, he looks at us at a glance and he smiles. That is what we are there for. So beautiful, so sweet. Then we don't have to understand why some like that, some like this. Because this is the usual human condition in spirituality as with something else. Saying that, what is that song? कैसे कैसे उनको दिया है, जैसे ऐसे जैसों को दिया है, अपनी भी तो लिफ्ट करा दी. This constant thing is there. It's a representation of the same thing, isn't it? Saying that, but look at this one, and you say that sage Valmiki, he was a murderer, he killed so many people. Augustine was such a sinner, and Saint Paul was such a sinner. And you made them into such amazing saints. Do something about our life also. This question can be there, that why is it like this? Why is there a distinction? But we can never truly fathom God and His will. We just have to accept that if we can be here for Him and He can look at us with love, isn't that much more than we can ask for? So never get into this spiritual competitiveness. And we don't know who is winning, who is losing. So this little flower, she at 24, she left the body because of tuberculosis. And she became one of the greatest sages while thinking that whole life she's just going to be a little flower of God. She wanted to be a saint, and she felt like, why is it God blesses others like this so much? And then she realized that in the garden He loves every flower. The sun shines His light on every flower. So then she's happy to be a little flower. And then God made her wish come true, that she became one of the greatest saints that ever lived at such a young age.
I also felt that if God has put that wish in her to be a saint, He has to. She knew she's not very that beautiful. Holy. There has to be a ladder.
Exactly, that's a very beautiful point.
Yeah.
But she felt like He's given her that divine inspiration. So then he has to find some way, because when she looked at herself and read the books of other sages and saints, she found that she's nowhere like them. Isn't that like all of us? We see these things and we feel like we are nowhere like them. Then there's no chance for us. But she said that if he has given me this inspiration in my heart, then he will also show me the way, he will make me climb the ladder, he will give me the ladder. So I have to take the tiny step, the tiny part of that step, and he will take the bigger step, bigger part of that step. But we don't have that trust, I don't have that trust, I don't have the confidence to take the tiny step, allowing him to take the bigger part of the step. So deep humility and deep confidence at the same time. But confidence not in our own strength, but in his power. Every word, every passage, there's so much to learn from. So, I feel like to engage with the lives of the sages, to hear their stories, is a very good gift we can give to ourselves. I see that my life is so much richer after we saw those episodes of Tulsidas Ji, Ma Mirabai, watching Chosen, of course, reading about the lives of Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Therese of Lisieux, and I find myself so old now. Like in earlier days, when I was younger, I would finish books like that. No? I would start a book and it was finished. Start a book and it's finished. Now I've started maybe 30 books and none of them is actually finished. It just, something calls me, I read a bit, get a sense of it, then something else, this, and something else. So I've lost that idea that I have to finish every book that I start. And yet he's educating me quite reasonably. So to immerse ourselves, like Saint Teresa said this, that she always had a book. She always had a book. So now in today's world, whether you're listening to Audible or to reading a book or watching something on YouTube, it's all okay. As long as you're immersing yourself in that divine inspiration, it is going to help. At least those, depending on your language, some, like if you really understand Hindi, I don't know if subtitles are there, but if you understand Hindi, I would strongly encourage watch the episodes of Goswami Tulsidas Ji in Vignaharta Sri Ganesha. It's all on YouTube, freely available. Those very simplistically made, and it's not, you're not expecting cinema out of it, but the message is so deep and compelling. Also the story of Madhavi, then who became Ma Mirabai. It's very, very And the Shabri episode in Srimad Ramayana. Shabri episode is very nice. And also the one where Hanumanji meets Ram for the first time. It's very nice. Then the one in Chosen where, Simon Peter, he follows the one that they get the fish. That one is very, very beautiful. The one where the fishermen come with him. Simon Peter comes with him because he's going to be caught by the Romans if he doesn't pay the tax thing. So then Jesus does this miracle and his whole boat is full of fish. It's a beautiful episode. I feel that is the same one where he told Matthew to follow him. So very, very beautiful. Huh? Yeah. That's a nice one. There's so many beautiful things. Nicodemus' talk is beautiful. And Nicodemus speaking with Mary is very beautiful. All of them will end up. Every scene. Yeah, but some really change, You just feel like, whew. Yeah. Faith, the question of faith, that why didn't you heal me? And he's been sitting quietly for so long and Jesus is healing everyone. And one of his own closest disciples, he's still walking with a limp, so he goes. Yeah, he's been healing everyone. Very nice.
This latest one. What you did to the list of you did it to me.
Oh, I haven't seen lately. What?
List among you did it to me.
Must be four.
Spray, she anoints his leg with spray, that same, Anointing.
Four. Because 4 is the only one I haven't seen. So
we met Otto Rajana. Yeah. Is that less of a satsang, Father?
Is that less? It's one of the strongest satsang. One of the strongest satsang that I have been to. Like I've seen only Mother Teresa and her things on TV, on YouTube and things. He's the closest I've seen to her. Very, very strong satsang, very beautiful.
Like it's one of the closest communions with God, right?
Yes, definitely. With God's compassion. Definitely.
And Father, he was so innocent and he said, okay, God, are you with me?
Yeah.
But God, it feels like God is there with him in every step.
Yeah.
He's so innocent that he doesn't know it.
Yeah, that innocence makes him like this so beautifully in communion with God. So everything is then I told God like this. Mm-hmm. Then this happened, so then I told God like this.
Yeah.
That he's just talking to God like his friend all the time. That's a beautiful. So thank you for that. So he got a chance once to visit Switzerland, maybe to get some award or something. So CNN was in Switzerland, okay. So he went there for that. So they put him up in a 5-star hotel. So he said that night I was jumping on the bed, I was doing somersaults, I was doing all of that. But then I told God, I know this is for one night, I'm happy with it for one night. Mm-hmm. Then I'm back to my heart, it's completely fine. So with everything, he brings God into it. Although he says, I have not met God. He says, I still haven't met God, I want to meet God.
I've not had dreams of God.
I've not had any dreams, visions. You see, I have not met God. And he can, like, his expression is very different. He's not like, he's just speaking very, very normally. So he's not, you have to really pay close attention to see that everything is driven by faith. You see? So, there was a question about so much like Auto Raja, publicity, and in one of the videos he's called the Miracle Man of India. And he shows that video to everyone. So I was saying that if someone leads a life like that for 27 years, and the mind gets a bit attracted to getting at least some glory in return, can we not grant him that much at least? Let's grant him that much at least. He's taking care of thousands and thousands. So what if little bit his name is spread over there and something in him likes it? It's okay. It's not. You see, we have many more weaknesses than that. We could never give up our whole life and all of these things. And we would not make that exchange with our life and him if we were well known in return for dealing what he deals with on a daily basis. So we must not allow the mind to fool us with these small things. In every story there will be some 1% which can sound problematic to the mind. You see, you just get over that and meet God's goodness. In every human play, it is going to play with some stupidity, some foolishness is bound to play out. So, only God is perfect. And what is beautiful is that if there is honesty, because he did not try to portray himself as some. So, I really feel like in a way I belong to that family in my heart somewhere as well. So whatever, may God keep this fire alive, but whatever we can do, because this man gets so much respect from all of you in this world, but he's not done 1/1,000,000th of what he has done for so many people in this world. No, it's okay. So you don't even know what I said just now. So what are you saying not true?
I haven't done anything with that.
I haven't. It's just been so comfortable sitting in AC. We're talking as friends. What's the big deal, you know? Yes,
That's why, like, so many over there just wanted to be. I see now.
May God give us the strength and ability to really start doing something in the next, whatever is left of our lives.
He also
Said I'm not happy with myself. That shocked me. He said I still get angry and I have all these things. After 27 years of all that he's done, and then he says I'm not happy with myself.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing, because one who does not recognize how small they are and how much they have to grow, they are caught in the Ravan mode. And it is growth and maturity for all of us, because somewhere maybe in Indian spirituality we've created this notion of the enlightened one who is free from all blemishes of any sort. You see, we must break out of that mode and remember that only God is perfect. Everyone else is either growing in his love or is proud. And you see how it is the same in across religions. Hanuman Poddar ji also, if you hear him talk, what did he say? That was a classic line from him. कि सच में मैं बहुत झूठ बोलता हूँ. सच में. Yeah. He said at one point, don't think I'm some great. That was one of the first videos actually Radha sent me of Hanuman Poddar ji. So he's saying that I don't want to speak like this about the Mahatmas because you will start thinking that I am one of them. I am not one of them. I'm telling you about them. Please don't do it. No? So then, that you will make it will be a great sin to consider me to be a great sage, a Mahatma. Okay. So like that humility touched me so deeply that I fell in love with him in that one, hearing that one satsang. So much inspiration everywhere around us. So much. And that's probably the only thing I feel bad for feeling that this one is 50 almost. Because in the 20-30 years that are left, can I really immerse myself in the lives of all of these sages? I try getting into one, then another one shows up. So, or just scratching the surface of Saint Teresa of Avila. Now, Teresa of Lisieux I showed now. So, how much we'll immerse in beauty? Or I mean, such a good problem to have. And then sometimes you feel, then you're feeling like, you're missing Swami Ram Sukdas, you've not heard him for days. You see? Then Anandamayi Maha video we haven't seen for so long. There's so much. We've not scratched the surface of any of these great sages. And we haven't even started looking at the Sufis and so many beautiful ones. Somebody sent me a quote from a Sufi sage the other day, so beautiful. Like, let me read up about this. Ashtavakra, we left midway because this boy started crying or something. No, I'm just... You know, the thing in my life that I've wasted the most time over? Making something about myself. That's the human addiction. That is the work in progress that I'm still working on. There's so much to immerse. Can we meet these sages in our heart? We can't do it if you're full of me, but I think. Imagine reading Saint Teresa, you're reading this child who's shared some magnificent things, but you're reading through the lens of me. But I think, you see, and there's so many years I've spent wasting time on that, thinking I know something.
Even Father, even in Ramcharitmanas, I try to find errors of Hanuman Poddarji's translations. Oh, this word he is translating differently. Let me Google it.
That's courage I don't have. That courage. That you have to be young like you to have that kind of courage too.
Why he is using
Hanuman Poddarji's translation?
And then let me see if I can understand this without reading his comment. Then
it is two sages that you're meeting. First time I saw this version of the Ramcharitmanas, I was so excited because I knew it's Gita Press, but I didn't know that the Tika is by Hanuman Podarji. So that was a special cherry on the cake. Yeah. Tikakar is Hanuman Podarji. Yeah. So I felt like this is a cherry on the cake, it's just Hanuman, Tulsidas ji and the commentary by Hanuman Podarji, like commentary translation, both in a way. What a blessing to have. So don't take my advice, don't waste time on yourself. That I'm like this, I'm like that.
It's the same thing, you felt that you knew the story of them.
Yeah.
When we actually first read it and also we watched it, that
You know
I
that we've not started the Ramayana
Yeah.
part yet.
no, I know that. I mean, I read it before, but this I think, changed so dramatically. I mean,
Exactly.
to see it through your eyes or through the eyes of some other truth than what your, especially about what Lord Ram did to Sita, and just typical stereotype, foolish idea, and then you feel that, how could I even have judged him when what do I really even know? And it's just from your own, like here's some hearsay and you see the conditioning of the world and some feminist thing or the other. It just seems so silly to me. That actually feels quite blasphemy in a way that, how could you even dare to judge what God should do or not do?
Better. Yes. Yes. Mom and dad are here. Take care. Of course. So I don't know where this life is going at all. Like this morning I was feeling, I'm going to stop sharing satsang and just join Auto Raja and his work. He will come. It's close to Nitin and Atmika's place. Where we crossed while coming back, he said Nitin.
Yeah, it is close to
15 minutes. There are enough satsang recording, no? Some 10,000 or something.
We don't.
Then you join me there. But right now the attempt is to help them in whatever way possible because they're really struggling with all this prejudice about Christian institution and all this kind of stuff. So
selling land.
we can print some simple like leaflets and just distribute them to people with some way to help, with some way to contribute. Imagine after 27 years of working, where you was worried about where the next meal for all these 800 people is going to come from. And they still manage it at a beautiful, like 22,000 to feed 800 people is nothing. So And those who haven't gone, I've been to other orphanages and things, but this one really touches you because 80% of them have like mental conditions, and yet they're so innocent in their eyes. No? So I'm sure there are troubled times also, but we found a lot of grace in the visit, and of course meeting children is always, then we met some children also. Very beautiful. But just the sheer, like we don't know what hardship is, what we lament about, what we feel bad for, what these people go through, where their limbs are deteriorating in front of their own eyes, and there are worms eating you up, and then this helping hand comes, it's cleaning you up, loving you like a baby. That is something very beautiful. So let's see where God takes us, how He takes us. So both these things came in the same week. The little thing, and the big thing. So both are there. Let's see which way it goes. What do you all feel, some of you feel? How is it after 2 days of visiting? What is your feeling about it? In my
Sometimes when I walk on the roadside, there are like drunkards lying.
yeah.
And no one looks at them. There's a little question in my mind, like, shall I at least keep him straight? I just walk away.
We walk away.
Now, I don't know, even in spite of all that,
But
will I do it next time? Honestly, I don't know.
I don't know.
First thing I do is judge that he is drunkard and sleeping there. Who knows he is drunk?
Exactly. Be quick to judge. Like, could we as a Sangha have run a place like that? The treating them, the dealing with them day in and day out. You know, some of the stories I don't even want to say on the broadcast. It's very tough. Like we were reeling, no? After one visit, all of us were in shell shock and we were reeling. Imagine living there with everyone, 800 of them. In a small Sangha like this, every day there are some 2-3 dramas of something or the other. 800 people who are not mentally well and have such serious trauma and issues. And this one man, because he doesn't know how to delegate or what that means. He's just like, God has put me here, I'm going to do the best I can. He operates in that mode. So we can grant him whatever he wants granted without judging at all. It shows me my lack of love so deeply, you know. Take turns.
Thinking out loud that should we, like the whole Sangha, let's say 20-30 of us, every week 2 of us go, let's say on a Saturday or a Sunday, and spend the whole day. I don't know if it's possible practically also.
You should.
Just take turns, like make a sheet, Excel sheet, and
I'll go every 3-4 weeks.
and just spend time with them And I was feeling that I can offer some,
Physiotherapy.
I don't know how, but like 2, 3 of us can go every week. I don't know how much we'll help them, but it's shaking us up. So, you know,
We should go.
One sort of gentle question.
Yes, please.
I think what you just, Shana, what you just mentioned would be actually just really incredible, because I visited there's another biggest hospice in Bangalore,
Yeah. Karunashri?
Karunashri. So I
Very
visited
beautiful.
them,
Yeah.
and what they said was that even though they have patients, they're admitting patients who have like maybe less than a week to live, but they invested in putting up a physical fitness, like a
Center.
place right there.
Yes.
And you would wonder why would patients want to literally, like basically the hours are metered. But they said it just added a lot. I mean, people, whatever they had,
Oh, wow.
maybe there's some, I guess there's some inner knowing that reality never dies.
Yes.
So they are not giving up, something about it. But there's I'm just saying that they were, so what it just occurred to me to share that something like that, which they were probably not considered, could just transform the experience of the people there.
Physical therapy.
And lots of stuff also to do with the kids. I mean, on a separate track, like so much stuff to do with the kids.
Yeah. Have
Who
you just
never
to
really
show
had
up?
parents.
Show up and God will show us what to do.
Yeah, so my wife was, was saying that like the first time she went there, I was playing with the kids, and some of them, became a little bit hyper, right? And the reason was actually they'd never been never had parents, like never had somebody sit them on their lap or, kind of be that, the kind of stuff we take for granted. They got so excited, right, that it was
It became unmanageable.
unmanageable only because they never had that basic experience, So that's that's priceless, I mean, it's just that's a lot of people may give stuff, but they don't give affection.
Father, can I share something
Yeah.
from my experience with my father when he had a surgery and then he couldn't move, so he went into a nursing home where people were very much there without any hope to go back to their lives. Like it was like an exit home.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did, I actually brought him a physiotherapist to work with him every day because mobility is very important. And actually, my father was kicked. He had a big surgery, like in his tummy and stuff, to replace his gross intestine. And after 5 days in the hospital, the doctor actually kicked him out because he wasn't getting out of the bed. And he said, if you don't get out of bed, you're going to die. So all the time I spent to fix you inside is going to be wasted. So just get out and see. And my sister put him in a nursing home, and then these visits and the physiotherapy, and I was doing Reiki on him and just telling him, hey, you need to get out, because they also get complacent. Like my father was like, oh, this is so nice here. Look, I have all these friends around me. And I don't want if I go home, I'm going to be alone. And you get all this complacency. So movement is really important. So what Ishana suggested
Very
is
good. It's very
full
good.
power.
Very good. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
And bless this place and your seva. Mm. When you prayed last time for Aniko's cat, And whenever you pray, it feels very strong in my heart. And there are two things I want to say. One is if we could pray for Anna, has been struggling for a while.
Praying for Anna. Also, join me in praying for this child who's losing both her eyes. May God's grace bless her as well.
Father, here's also an urgency.
Yes, Nitya. Yes.
And yesterday I met a woman. I was cooking for her and my friend because she can't move out of the house, cook for herself anymore because her mother died. But when we met them in a nice place and I brought all the food I cooked, it was clear she needed prayer, and I prayed and spoke in the name of Jesus, and I saw that she also had to forgive something, and I prayed this and she spoke it, and this came very easy from my heart always. And I was so much in Holy Spirit that then she said she is obsessed since 20 years, is suffering from a can say like a demon, and it's passed from generation to generation. It's very, very heavy, and for me it's nothing I'm afraid of because I had experience with these things, and I thought in the flow of grace, and I'm so happy and light, and it's not me doing it. I said I can do something for you. And she said she tried everything and paid so many money for people. I said, did you ask enlightened people? Yeah, she was with lamas, Tibetan lamas. They tried it and it nearly worked, but then she slipped back. And I know that from other obsessions that when the time is not there. But today, then I tried. Then I said, okay, I just let me do it. And just a little thing. And then it was like that. It went, the demon showed up so strongly. She said, no, you have to stop it. And I said, I'm sorry, because I didn't ask Jesus really whether it's my job, because he said already it's all done, you know? But because I can't see people suffering, it's an immediate impulse to do something. So then I prayed for her again, and it was better. But she said it's so extreme that if someone is addressing this one, it really it's like she feels very stiff. And therefore today she's with someone she thinks it can be a hope. But Jesus already gave her, because I listened, I hear the soul. He he took away that she believes she cannot be healed. And therefore, all I had to do was done, or was Jesus' work is already fixed. But yeah, today she's with someone. She thinks she can do something with the aura and really throw it out. I don't know whether or not. It's not in my hand, and I hear only she's already healed. Okay, so I just like to pray for her right now because the session must be in this time, and her name is Urina. Urina. Just that she gets something here. And I feel to say thank you, Lord, that everything is already done. That you're always in your grace. That nothing is missing, and that we are in your heart. Thank you.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधार रामा निज मन मुकुर सुधारी वरनौ रघुवर बिमल जसु जो दायक फल चारि तुलसी जो दायक फल चारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार राम सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार तुलसी हरहु कलेश विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बलधामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराज कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज समारे लाए संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस वदन तुम्हरो जस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिंसा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाए राजपद दीन्हा तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्त्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मिलि मुख माहि जलधि लांघि जय अजरज नाही। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज सम्हारो आपे, तीनों लोक हाँकते कापे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, दिन के काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबरपुर जाय, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई, झूठ ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होए सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय महडेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप रामा। मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसव सुरभूप। तुलसी हृदय बसव सुरभूप।